So recently people started sharing this graphic around on my Discord, and it intrigued a lot of people. So I figured, I've recorded all of my God Pack Wonder Picks. I can just check how accurate this is. And what I found genuinely astonished me. So drop a like, leave a comment, and check this out. Now, I want to start by saying, yes, this video could have been just 2 minutes long. I could have just said, here's what this thing says, here's what my numbers showed, it's exactly this accurate or this inaccurate. But firstly, I don't want to pretend otherwise. The watch time really helps the channel, and we're trying to have a lot of instances rerolling God Packs for you guys, so if it's not too much to ask, check out the entire video. But also, I wanted you guys to take the journey that I went through when I was checking these results, because as I mentioned, the results, I was actually not prepared for what I found. So I wanted you guys to be able to see how I came to that conclusion as well. But that said, I do have this guide that we're going to put up here in the top left. And if you're not able to read the numbers, it says that there's a 20% chance of the card staying where it is, which doesn't even need to be on there because of course there's a 1 in 5 chance of the card not moving. But then it has 2 spots that it considers more likely for the card to go. And it says that it's a 30% chance per each of those elevated spots. So it should be 60% more likely to end up in one of those 2 spots. And of course, statistically, normally, it should be only 40%. But they're claiming 60%. So, of course, that's testable, so that's what we're going to be looking into. Now, I'll also say, anytime you see anything like this, you should always assume that they're full of crap, because randomness is random, and people like to make patterns out of randomness. That said, there's always the possibility, because randomness generated by a computer is never perfectly random, it is possible that the nature of the algorithm that's making it random tends to trend more towards certain outcomes than others. So it could, in fact, skew a bit more towards certain locations. So that's what we're going to investigate. So I want you guys to see my findings. So you're going to see me looking back and forth a lot, but I have the actual packs over here, and we can kind of cheat. I can skip forward and see, oh, okay, the wheezing ended up in the top right, and it started in the bottom left, which is exactly what they predict. So for that one, they get a pass. We go to the next one, and the Cubone ended up in the top right and started from the bottom left. So again, they get another pass. And this one I remember because this was today, and the Brock starts in the bottom left, and it went to the top right. Now, these are not all going to be me picking in the top right, because obviously that could potentially skew what we're looking at. But I will say that I tend to pick in the top right more than other spots. I definitely pick in other spots, as you'll see. But I pick more top right than anything else, but I don't think that that changes what you guys are about to see. So far they're 3 for 3. Now on this one, there are 2 Zapdos, and a Zapdos is what I end up picking. And normally I would say, that kind of invalidates the results because there's 2 of them, so how could you really tell? However, if one started in the top right, they're saying that it should go down or all the way across to the left. And if another starts in the middle, they're saying it should go to the bottom row. And yet, we picked this one in the top right. So for this one, we can still declare it a fail. Then we're checking out this one, and this one I picked the blue. He starts in the bottom right. They say it'll go up to the center or to the right, and sure enough, it went to the top right. So that one gets a pass. This one, I believe, is the Budding Expeditioner. Goes from the bottom right to the center, which is also what they predict. This one here, I ended up picking one of the Articunos. However, they predict one of the Articunos will go either from the top left to the top center or the bottom left, and the other one should for sure go to the bottom row. And yet, I picked it in the top right. So for this one, again, they get a fail. And so far, their fails have just been when there's 2 copies, which you would think would improve their odds and make it hard to gauge, but for some reason, those are the 2 that have been off. Now with this one, we end up picking the Articuno. It starts in the top left. They say it will go over or down. And sure enough, it went over one to the center. So that's another pass. This one, the Mew, goes from the top center down to the right, bottom right, which is, again, exactly what they predict. So I think they've gotten 7 out of 9 right so far, which is actually pretty impressive results, I would say. However, this is the point at which, for the most part, these results engage in what I can only describe as the plot twist of the century. check this out. So for this one, the Erica goes from the bottom left to the top center, and they predict it'll go to one of the top edges, so that's a fail. This one, the Eevee, goes from the bottom right to the bottom left. They predict it will go up, that's a fail. This one, the Salandit, started in the top left, which they predict will go over one or down one, but actually it went all the way over to the right, so that's a fail. This one, the Weezing, is in the bottom left, which they predict will go top left or top right, and it did go top right, so they get another pass here. This one, the Weezing stays where it is, and of course, 20% chance to stay where it is, so they get a fail for that one. This one, we ended up picking the Moltres staying where it is, so they get a fail for that one. This one, the Charmander, they say if it's in the center, it'll go down, but it went over to the right, so they get a fail for that one. This one, the Slowpoke, is in the bottom left, which they say will go top left or top right, and yet it went top center. That's a fail. This one, there's two Moltres. One starts in the center, which should go down, and one starts in the top right, which should go down or all the way over to the left, but it stayed where it was, so that's a fail. This one, the Articuno started in the top left, which should go over one or down one, but it went over and to the right, so that's a fail. This one, the Deden started in the center, which should go down, but it went over to the right. That's a fail. This one, the Koga, stayed where it was. That's a fail. This one, the Starmie, stayed where it was. And yes, there's a second Starmie, but that one should have gone down, so that's a fail. This one, the Gengar, should have gone over one or down one, went all the way over to the right. That's a fail. This one, the Eevee, stayed where it was. That's a fail. This one, the Vaporeon, in the top left, is supposed to go over one or down one, went all the way over. That's a fail. This one, the Rainbow Aerodactyl, stayed where it was. That's a fail. This one, the Mewtwo, stayed where it was. That's a fail. This one, the Ditto, went from the bottom left, where it should have gone top left or top right. It just went over one. That's a fail. This one, the Mewtwo, stayed where it was and is a fail. Yes, back-to-back Mewtwo fails. Feels bad. This one, the Zapdos, stayed where it was. That's a fail. This one, the Meowth, stayed where it was in the bottom left. That's a fail. This one, the Dragonite, stayed where it was in the bottom right. That's a fail. This one, the Articuno from the center, they say it'll go down. It went over to the right. That's a fail. This one, the Gengar, stayed where it was in the top right. That's a fail. This one, the Alakazam, stayed where it was. Fail. And it's at this point that I figured I had enough evidence because, again, according to their predictions, what you should see is a 60% increased likelihood of correctly predicting where the card goes. But the reality of the situation is that this graphic correctly predicted where the card would go 20% of the time, which means that this actually is, from my testing anyway, a useful graphic for determining where a card will go. All you have to do is reference this graphic and then definitely not listen to it. And as long as you do the opposite of what this graphic is recommending, from my testing, you will have better odds of finding the card you're trying to pick. Now, do I believe that that's absolutely going to be the case once more people test this? I would not be surprised to find out that this is a statistical outlier. It's probably not true. But I did find it pretty funny that for a graphic that's supposed to be helping you get the Wonder Picks you want, the best way to use this graphic is to definitely not listen to it. So, I found that pretty entertaining. Sorry to break this news to the people who've been passing it around religiously on the Discord, but those were my findings, so I wanted to share them with you guys. But yeah, I thought that that was a fun little thing to explore. That's what I found. Let me know what you guys find. I'd be curious to know if it actually does end up working for a bunch of you guys, but I assume that it's just random nonsense and that these results don't really mean anything and that it is fairly random. But yeah, let me know what you guys find in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you guys very much for checking out this video. We added a bunch of new stuff to the Discord. We've got a bunch of new rerollers, a bunch of new God packs, a new early access section, and all sorts of stuff, so definitely check it out. But yeah, again, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video. Drop a comment. Otherwise, I will see you guys real soon. Until next time. Peace!